New Zealand are the fourth team to enter the T20 World Cup semi-final. We shall of course discuss the subplot that involves India. But here's the likely semi-final scenario. Pakistan is likely to take on Australia and England could take on New Zealand in the semi-finals. Now let me get my guests into the show. I am joined at this hour by BBC commentator Prakash Vakankar. I'm also joined by Amrit Mathur, Senior Cricket Administrator. Amrit, to you first. This team, New Zealand, they are runners-up in the ODI World Cup from 2019, World Test champions. Can they clinch the T20 World Cup?
Well, you have to say that they are the most consistent international side. They won the Test Championship. They narrowly lost the 50-over World Cup. They're in the semi-finals here. And if you look at the team, there's no exceptional brilliance, there's no hype, there's no drama, but they're just professional, they're consistent, there's clarity of role, which they execute very well. So I think it's a great advertisement for a team which is not really high profile, but very consistent in performance. And I think they are good enough to beat any team and clinch the title, as you said.
Before we discuss the subplot to this game, New Zealand beating Afghanistan and entering the semi-final. Prakash, I have to ask you one question. 4 teams now in the semi-finals. Who's looking the most likely winner of the tournament?
The T20 tournament, Rika, that's an unfair question. Someone would call it a wide, right? But the reality is, I think, look, all 4 teams have an equal chance. Australia have sort of come back very strongly. England, Pakistan, at least on record, look like the strongest teams. But like Amrit rightly said, you know, New Zealand bring a certain calm, they bring a certain gentlemanly conduct, both on and off the field. And look, to be honest with you, if there was a grand slam in cricket, then New Zealand are on the cusp of it, because in my heart, I believe New Zealand actually did win the 50-over World Cup as well, even though technically they were runners-up. So New Zealand is, I think, if I may use the phrase with no pun intended, they are indeed the dark horses in their black jerseys, but the other 3 teams have equally good chances. Very, very difficult to call this. On the day, anything can happen.
On the day, anything can happen, and they are going to meet England, which looks like a formidable outfit right now. But let's now talk about what happened as a result of this match. New Zealand entering the semi-finals. So India has been knocked out. Amrit, let me come to you. A little while earlier, we had a press conference with the outgoing bowling coach of India. He said that perhaps it was bio-bubble fatigue and tight schedule. Do you concur with him on that?
Well, there could be many reasons. The bubble could be a factor. It actually wears you down mentally, because our team has been in a bubble since, I think, May, June. So this is a long time. It has to affect everybody. Maybe too much cricket, no gap between IPL and the World Cup. Maybe wrong selection. Maybe, wrong execution. As somebody said, we were not brave enough. We didn't show intent. Maybe in a 20-over situation, maybe we are playing the wrong brand of cricket, unlike England or some other countries. So there could be many reasons for this. But I think the larger point is, we are the powerhouse of world cricket in every way. Talent, money, whatever whichever yardstick you use. And we are the best equipped to do well in T20 cricket because of IPL and the fantastic platform that we have, which others don't. And still, strangely, we are struggling in a T20 tournament on a world stage. And even to make it even more odd, our test record is exceptional. We won twice in Australia. We've done very well in England. So while all indications would suggest that we'd be the most formidable T20 team in the world, we are not. And maybe other teams look at us as a stronger test team. So I think we've missed a trick somewhere. It's time to rebuild. And maybe with a new captain and a new coach coming in, maybe there'll be a fresh direction to the team. Maybe there'll be a rethink on strategy, rethink on players, rethink on the roles of players. Do we still continue with senior players? Does Hardik Pandya, an unfit Hardik Pandya or an unfit, not fully fit Bhuvi fit in? Is Chahal? There can be lots of questions. But look at, one more thing. Today is Sunday. On the 17th of this month, India's on the road again. We are playing New Zealand in Jaipur. It's 10 days. And what if New Zealand is in the World Cup final in Dubai?
They hardly have any time.
They have one day before they go and play another international game in Jaipur. So the schedules are killing. They have to affect everybody. But still, you are dealing with professional athletes. They're supposed to cope and they're supposed to deliver on a day. So there's no excuse for not doing well, but we can understand the reasons behind somebody not doing well.
We know at least one of the top New Zealand players will not turn up for the matches against India in India because the timing is very short. Prakash, going back to you, Amrit spoke about IPL. We have the biggest cricket tournament in the world going. Strange similarities with the English Football League and English Premier League and the English team, the way they have been a bunch of underperformers in their biggest sport. Similarly, India having the biggest league, not being able to perform in the format the way they're expected to do so?
Well, I think Amrit's made excellent points, and I won't disagree with any of them. Just to sort of add to that, look, you look at the IPL, look at the roles that people play in teams. How many of those roles really are being performed by Indian players? How many are the overseas guys doing the trick for them? So we've got to take the IPL in a sense and balance it out with what is happening. The second is the only tournament we won was the inaugural one in 2007 in T20s. And what was it? It was basically making up a team to actually, none of the senior players went there. People were hungry. What could it have been? And I'm not saying that's the solution, but what could it have been if people like the Ruturaj Gaikwads of the world and the Venkatesh Iyers of the world and these young lads who performed so well and were fresh went in? And one final point, what is stopping our senior cricketers from saying, like Joss Butler did, like Ben Stokes did, or others have done, to say, look, I think the World Cup is an important tournament. I am going to give the IPL a miss, or I'm going to take a break from A or B or C. Is it the endorsement contracts? I don't know the answer. Is it, they can't be worried about reclaiming their place, surely. Mr. X or Y, who's very senior and seasoned, isn't going to be dropped because he or says that I'm going to skip one tournament here or two tournaments there. So what is it that is going on? We need to understand it well. And I would just like to hope and believe that with the new sort of white ball management, with Rohit in charge, at least in T20, we don't know about 50 overs yet, and with Rahul Dravid as the coach, maybe, as Amrit said, there will be some fresh thinking. We definitely need some serious introspection.
Amrit, since we are talking about the road ahead, we are also talking about a reboot. Would you say, like England, the way to follow in these days of too much cricket is 3 teams in 3 formats?
Well, you have to choose your best players for any format. But I think what we need to do seriously is to have better workload management. Maybe give players a break from time to time, whether it's the pace bowlers, whether it's the batsmen. So you have fresh players competing all the time. I think that's one area where we need to focus more on, which we haven't done. We had odd cases where Virat has taken time off for personal reasons or somebody else has taken time for personal reasons. But I think it should be a deliberate, thought-through policy of giving everybody a break so that they're ready, fresh when it comes to an important tournament. I think that's one thing which has been lacking in our cricket, which we must do now. No, I think you made a point about the English Premier League and England not doing well. And the IPL, I think there's a basic difference there. But the top teams in the EPL do not have English talent. They're players from overseas. Whereas in the IPL, there's job reservation. You have guaranteed 7 slots for Indians in every team. So I think the pace of people who've been exposed to this high intensity, competitive, professional tournament is much more. You got 8 teams, 7 Indians are playing every time there's an IPL game. So that's a very wide pool. So actually you're preparing a whole lot of cricketers for better cricket, maybe international cricket, competitive cricket. So I think that's the advantage we have, compared to any other country in the world. But still, if we do not win when it matters, so there is something missing.
Right, so 70 players from next year on. Yes, go on, Prakash.
Just one quick thing. Amrit is right. We've got to pick them, though. Right? We've got 56 players in each sort of 8 into 7, whatever. But then we've got to pick them. There can't be. We're finding that is feeding into our test team. I mean, look at the kudos India got for what happened in Australia, right?
Right.
The bench strength, the people coming off, but they were all fresh. They were all hungry, right? And I think that's the difference.
So it could be a selection issue. You
Right.
know, did we go wrong in picking some players who played in the game against Pakistan and New Zealand? Did that sort of make a difference to the outcome? Maybe it did. So maybe, even the selectors have to be, more on the button when it comes to picking the right players for the right conditions against the right teams. So I think everybody together has to be professional, whether it's the new coach, the new captain, the players themselves in terms of clarity of role. Look at how flexible England is in terms of using the players.
True.
Somebody's opening, somebody's in the middle order, somebody has a clear role as a finisher. So I think that's something which we need to learn, and we are slightly behind the curve when it comes to top-class cricket at a world stage.
And also,
And
I
Rika,
think...
sorry,
Yes,
Rika,
yes.
sorry to butt in. You
Yes.
look at what Amrit talked about, the deliberate effort of sort of giving people break managing. Remember how much flack England got for doing it during the test series. Now,
Right.
it's a fine balance, right? People have to set it. Either you give the individuals the choice, the board nudges you. It's a science, I think, and it will evolve. But we need, like Amrit rightly said, we need professionals on the job who can
Absolutely.
evaluate, assess, and do it.
Lots of food for thought there, but the news that we are discussing is that India has been knocked out of the T20 World Cup. For a 9th time now, they have been knocked out of the ICC World Cup. That's it in Turning Point for now. Thank you very much for watching.